Hi everyone! Today we're going to talk about how to plan for joy. Now you probably think, planning for joy, won't that just totally ruin it? Well, no. And here are 3 reasons why, and also how to actually do it in a way which will not completely ruin your life. First, let's define joy as experiencing things that make us happy or give us a sense of contentment and peace and enjoyment. Now, these won't happen unless we plan for them. You've all heard about the idea of the big rocks in the bucket, right? You've got a whole bucket, and if you fill it with your sand first and then put in your little rocks, you will not be able to fit in the big rocks. Now, the big rocks are your important things like taking care of your health, feeding your children, making sure the cats have their rabbit treats, stuff like that. Well, joy is a big rock too. And you want to put your big rocks in your bucket first. But if you do not plan for the time for experiencing joy, you will not experience it because you'll be filling it with other things. Second, things that we value, we dedicate time to. You have a work meeting, you pencil it in your little book. You're supposed to take your kids somewhere, it's in your planner. Time for yourself is just as important and deserves to be have its own space in your planner so that you are sure you actually get to it. Third, sometimes the things that spark joy also spark resistance, whether it's just an energetic hump to getting a project going, or it could be fear of failure or fear of success. If we just think we're going to do like the thing that we think we enjoy doing, that is too much of an oversimplification. Whereas if you plan a definite time to do something, like let's take the example of painting, and you set up your easel or your paints so that they're ready to go. You have overcome that initial hump of having to get everything all set up and ready, and it's just sitting there for you too, so that will help you get past the hurdle of, oh, what if it's not good enough, like what if I mess up, because you've got the 2 hours penciled out for it, you have the material set up, you just go and do it. So now let's talk about how to actually do this. First, when you're setting aside time, you want to make sure you're setting aside quality time, which means enough time, and also that you're not micromanaging that time. You're creating a container. You're not specifying how and exactly what and to what satisfaction you're doing things. If you need to if you need to give yourself 3 hours to make sure that you're getting into working on a project and enjoying yourself, then make sure you do that. If you only set aside an hour, you're not going to have time to get into that and get into the flow. You want to make sure you set aside enough time, and at first, set aside too much, what you think is too much. You can always shorten it, but you can't really start out by giving yourself not enough time, because then it just won't work. You'll get no positive feedback. You won't do it. Second, be specific enough with what you intend to do so that you can have a record of what you're going to do and what you feel about it afterwards. Why would you do this? Well, part of the enjoyment of something is the anticipation, and also getting to be able to look back on it and enjoy having done the thing. So this is not going to work if you don't remember what the thing was, or if you're vague enough about it to begin with that you don't know what to take notes on. If you're doing watercoloring, take a picture of what you did so that you've got it with you and can like look at it on your phone. If you're writing down in your planner, don't just write down watercolor. Write down something like paint Luna moths, work on new watercolor book, so that when you're thinking about it during, before you do the thing, you're anticipating a particular thing. And when you go back and when you look at what you did, you remember what you did and can enjoy it for a longer period of time than just the actual activity. Third, think about what actually gives you joy. Is it just total free play without any rules, any quality control, anything? Do you need to have a sense of accomplishment with it? If that is the case, you might want to define your project small enough so that over your one block of working, you can see some kind of progress. So, like, instead of just painting one big watercolor, maybe you want to paint a couple of like 3-inch still lifes or something, so that you can see, oh, I painted the same thing 3 times, and boy, that third one got a lot better. You may want something in between, like if you find, forcing yourself to look at progress too intimidating, or you just don't like the idea, maybe you still want some kind of accountability or some kind of like fun hook to get you going. Maybe you want to give yourself a challenge of 20 still lives in 30 minutes and just whip them out and like just force yourself to play and be free, but at the end of the time still have something to look at instead of starting with a blank page. So those are some considerations for how you actually plan for experiencing joy in your life using a planner, whether it's digital or analog, and how to actually do it.